Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Irfai. Welcome back to our Sefeo podcast episode.
In this episode, we are going to talk about integrity.
We hope you guys enjoy our discussion.
Okay, hi Irfai. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. Thank you for thank you for your time to record this podcast, and we will have some fun in discussing this one thing, the topic that we are going to discuss in this episode. As we all know, that we will talk about integrity.
All right, Chris. So we're going to talk about integrity, just you mentioned before, right?
Yes.
What does integrity mean to you?
Oh, okay. Well, for me, integrity is kind of a moral compass in our society, sort of a guidance to interact one to another, which, in the end of the day, which translates in both verbal communication and also through actions. What about you, Irfai?
Actually, I do agree with your definitions though, but the thing is that integrity is, for me, is something honest. It's not only about your, words, but also your acts, just like you said before.
Mm-hmm.
And also, being honest when you're alone, with or without people around you. It's just your commitment to the good things, to the right path, to the right things to do, something like that. That's what integrity to me.
Okay. So it's way more than just interaction with others, but also a thing that you apply to yourself in our daily activity, I guess, right?
Right.
Yeah, and talking about the integrity, we of course talking about one of the way we show the integrity, which is through the verbal communication, and talking about the speaking of the truth as a verbal form of integrity. There's this phenomenon where we see a fear of speaking the truth that might come from the threat that one might be punished. What's your take on this?
Well, yeah. For that questions, actually, it depends on the situations. Sometimes when we speak the truth, then we are being in danger, something like that. So to protect ourselves, sometimes as a human being, of course, we want to defend by doing make a lie, or maybe just being quiet and not speak anything towards on something like that. So if we're talking about in a good way or in the idealistic way, very idealistic, we're going to say that, oh my God, I think I should tell the truth to anybody or to someone about these things. Right? That's the idealistic things. But sometimes we have to be realistic, right? To protect ourselves. So yeah, it just depends on the person, depends on the situations as well. But for example, if you are asked to be a witness in the court, then you already, being asked to be telling the truth, then you have to be in the truth because it is under the law. As a good citizen in
that's
a
your
country, you have to
obligation.
Follow.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's my opinion about that question. So related with that, I think I should continue questions to you, right? Like, do you believe in the benefit of telling white lies? Why or why not?
Ooh, okay. This is very interesting question. White lies is something that we see in our society. People telling white lies just for the sake of being polite to someone else, right? And in a way, the purpose of white lies is because they just want to be polite and they don't want to hurt someone else because of the truth that they might reveal. But I think it's not necessarily beneficial to our society because in the long run, white lies creates this kind of snowball effect, or even worse, a time bomb effect. that will at one point it will ruin our relationship with others in a society, because we essentially we told the lie once, and we kind of have to cover that lie with another lie, and to cover those two lies with another lie. So yeah, it's kind of a snowballing effect of not telling the truth, and kind of creating a new sense of truth, which ironically is not the truth.
Okay, that's interesting answer.
And that happens. I mean, we see this phenomenon in both young generation and old generation, because I guess this kind of behavior has been passed on from generation to generation on how to speak politely to others, yada yada yada. And if we talk about the young generation specifically, the young generation in the country have responsibility to continue their predecessors' vision, which is, it is undeniable that some of our young generation are lack of integrity, so to speak. So, Irfai, what's your opinion? Like, maybe if you have something in mind about three main problems of integrity that essentially threatening the future of nation from its generation the most, and why is that?
Okay, I'll try to answer that one.
Okay.
The question is quite interesting, right? It's about nations, a country.
Yeah.
All right. So as we know that Indonesia is facing demographical bonus, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it means that we have a lot of young people, we have a lot of young generations in our country, which is Indonesia. So I think the points or the something that threatening our young generation is, I can tell, first is lack of empathy. Because empathy is really important, because our ideology in Pancasila, number 3, Persatuan Indonesia, or unity, we need to, work hand in hand together as a nations, right? But lack of empathy is something the opposite. So we need to careful of this. And maybe second point is that ignorance in young generations or in youth is that why? It's because, for example, just simple example, like something like this. If you are not really care about your environment, you ignore the rule, you ignore the regulations. If you have a little, you will do like littering, throwing the trash anywhere without not into the trash can or in the right place, something like that. And imagine if we have that kind of generations, our country will be so dirty, full of trash.
Right.
And,
oh my god, that imagination stuck in my head right now.
Right. And I think this is maybe the most important is that, the biggest problem is corrupt mentality. Corrupt is something, like a seed for the corruptions in the huge impact. For example, if this young generation has a corrupt mentality, and then after that he will lead our country, then of course he will be a corrupter in the future. I think that's something that we need to avoid for in the future, especially for young generations.
Yeah, that's true. So there are three that you mentioned earlier: lack of empathy, ignorance, and corrupt mentality. So it's very interesting. According to these three most threatening problems that you mentioned earlier in our young generations, how do you think we can tackle or even to prevent these kind of problems in the future?
So I think this is my personal opinion. I think it is going to sounds cliche, but it is what it is, right?
Right.
One of the ways that, of course, education is one of the the best way to educate our young generations, even from babies, kids, children's, and then of course teenagers, and they keep growing with the system which is in the educations that we built. So we have like, it's not only education is not only in the formal way,
Formal
such as in the
education.
school,
Yeah.
right? But also it started from the family, from the little environment, such as family.
From the
It's really
smaller
important.
circle, yeah.
Right. So education is not about formal, but also our characters, our kids' characters should be shaped by the family. And of course, in this family, it is easier to influence the kids, right? Because most of the time they spend a lot of time with their parents, and also after that they go to school and get the formal educations and also a little bit characters. And after that, of course, religions, if I can tell, because we cannot deny that religion has a lot of positive things to be shared, to be educated to our children, right? For example,
I
about
agree.
compassion, about love and everything. But I understand, I aware that some people, they are like agnostic, or they don't believe in God, but actually they have the same spirit, which is love. Love language is really important to teach to our kids, and then our intentions, our compassions for them. So I think that is the best way to tackle or even to prevent these problems in the future.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. So the education, the religion, and also the idea or the strong idea of love and compassion that we need to apply in our daily interaction with others, right?
Right. That's correct. So now I think I'm really curious about your opinion.
Okay, what's that?
Towards this, right? Because we need more aspects to be elaborate. So what aspect do you think youth should do to uplift their integrity, and why?
Okay. I think, I do agree with your solution or with your advice that the education, religion, and also the application of love and compassion within our society, that that should really be advertised to our young generation. They should know, they should understand, and they should also apply these ideas or this understanding. And also, I think the other important thing is that the openness to see things in multiple points of view. Because as we see right now, we kind of realize, but sometimes it's just like the elephant in the room, right? No one wants to talk about it, but we know we kind of know that some of the values in our culture is that the judgmental, like you see one thing through one specific point of view, and most of the time this kind of society refuse to see the problem or the issue from another point of view. And if this kind of behavior, if this kind of value keep on going and keep on passing from generation to generation, I don't think it's a good idea. So I think one of the way is that we need to make sure that we have this kind of openness in ourselves to see things from multiple point of view, so that we can gain new understanding. We can know what is that really about, and what's the best approach to any situation that we may encounter in the society.
Wow, that is really articulate answer. I mean, like, I am feeding my brain right now. Thank you for answering that question.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's imagine that I am the young generations, right? What is the best advice you can give for me as a young generations in here to keep in faith with the integrity?
Oh, okay. Well, full disclosure, I'm not a life coach or anything. Right?
It's kind of, I mean, who knows, we can get something from you, right?
Right. But I mean, in my personal opinion, I think one of the most important thing is the environment. No matter you are young generation, you are old generation, or whatever generation you want to call yourself, but as long as we can pick the correct environment, that will help us in the individual level and also in the society level. What I mean by that is picking the correct environment, as in the safe environment to value the failure and to see the failure as the learning system, so that we can essentially develop ourselves. Because when we did the mistake, we didn't really judge the person who did the mistake, but we see what mistake is that, and we move forward and we take that mistake as the learning. So we don't necessarily try to hide things under the rug, so to speak, right? We don't try to hide the truth. We can really or deliberately say like, hey, I did this mistake, like I fucked up, and I don't want anybody else around me to do the same mistake that I did. So this is my journey. This was my journey. I did this, and this, and I fell into this kind of failure. And it's good for that particular person to learn from their own mistakes, and also for the people around them to also learn from the mistake. So essentially, it builds a romantic relationship between a person in the society and the society itself. So both the individual and the society can moving forward together, hand in hand.
Wow, that's great. I mean, of course, environment is something that influence our behavior, right?
Right.
And I also can resonate your answer with energy, something that you mentioned before, that we have to spread our positive energy in the right way, so that the universe will, give it back the positive energy to us. For example,
that's it. Yeah.
When we are doing, when we keep our integrity on something good, and then we believe we will get, good karma in the future. Not always with the same person. Maybe we can get it from other persons, right? That's the point.
Right. Yes, you're absolutely correct. And so okay, previously we were discussing about the ideas and the ideology of the integrity itself. Let's have some fun. Let's play some thought experiments, right? Let's say you're a best friend of Mr. or Mrs. A. And this person, the A, married with B. Over time, you're naturally befriended with B as well. So you, because A is your best friend and B is the spouse, so you can hang out together and whatnot. One day, you caught A, which is your best friend, is having an affair with someone else. A basically convinced you that, it's nothing, it's just a temporary fling or whatnot, it's nothing serious whatsoever. But actually you notice that A keeps doing it. So what will you do in this situation?
Well, I hope I will never be in these situations.
Yes, we hope you'll never be in this situation, certainly.
It's kind of like complicated, oh my god. But the thing is that the situations that you mentioned, I already told B that, the A is having, like an affair with other people. And I don't know, it's the best answer that I can give is that just give the advice to my best friend, because he or she is my best friend. Then it is easy to me to tell him or her the correct one, something that not cheating on your spouse or on your wife or your husband or whatsoever, because that is not good things. Unless if your husband or your wife is already knew it and just okay, that's fine, you can go with any other people or other person to maybe to having sex or whatsoever, because maybe it's their fantasy I don't know, because the
Or
situations
perhaps-
you mentioned,
Right, or perhaps
mentioned-
they're in an open relationship.
right, yeah, right, because in this situations you mentioned that it's temporary fling, and then the A is not it's okay with that or something like that. So who knows? But the thing is that I will tell the right things to my friends because he is my friend.
Right, so you will have intense approach to this A person, yeah.
Right, because he is my friend or she is my friend, right?
Gross,
I mean,
gross.
friends is a friend when he or she can give you a good benefits, not only about money but also relationship, mentally, or maybe support system and everything.
Of course, yeah. I think that's the best approach. I mean, rather than we are just becoming a bystander, and at the end of the day we are gossiping about them. So that's
Right. Okay, talking about gossip, do you think gossip is a good thing or not?
ooh. Okay.
Since you mentioned about gossip,
Right.
and then we're going to gossiping this couple, maybe.
gossiping this A and B. Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. So what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's both yes and no. Okay, because okay, it's very interesting. Like a week ago or something, I encountered some articles about this specific thing about gossip. So basically, there are two kinds of gossip. In our society, there's one is evaluative gossip, and the second one is neutral gossip. Evaluative gossip is basically you are intensely talk about someone else's negative side or positive side. For example, this thing, we are gossiping with our friends, like, hey, you know what, the A person is having affair with another person, yada yada yada. So that's bringing up the thing that the person or the A is actually don't want this side of their life becoming a public consumption, but we bring it up as a public consumption. And then there's also positive evaluating gossip. Like, for example, we talk about, oh, that person, he's rich, he's handsome, he has a beautiful wife, beautiful children, yada yada yada. So we kind of praise that person behind their back. And then there's also a neutral gossip. It's like the behavior of talking about other people behind their back, of course, but not necessarily pointing out the negative side or the positive side of them. It's just talking about them, like, oh, my coworker, he has a wife, he has his house is over here and over there, and he has a car, yada yada yada. So basically, like, curhat with your friends or with your parents or with your siblings, so not necessarily bring or not necessarily talk about the negative side or the positive side of some of others. But nonetheless, I still think that gossip delivers zero value to this society, right? No matter you talk about someone else's negative side or positive side, or even just talk about them, it doesn't really bring any value to the society. Like, for example, we talk about someone else's negative side, it doesn't really bring value to ourselves who are talking about them, and it doesn't bring any value to that person who we talk about. And vice versa, when we talk about someone else's positive side, like she's beautiful, she is rich, yada yada yada, it doesn't really bring any advantage to anyone, right? So yeah, so I think yes and no, but actually no value to the society.
Yeah, I just know that gossip is divided into three: positive, negative, and also neutral. And also, I can tell that when we are gossiping, I know it doesn't have any value for the society, but it brings satisfactions
Right.
for the doers.
It brings a short time entertainment.
Right? Okay, so now just continue about gossiping and everything. So let's say you overheard your roommate having online therapy and talk about how she or he feel very uncomfortable with some things you do and say behind her or him. What will you do?
Well, in that situation, I think I'll just give them privacy because I just overheard, right? It's their right to talk about their problems, which of course one of the problem is me, for example. But I don't see me as a person or as an individual, but me as the part of the problem that they want to overcome. So that's why they talk to their therapist or whatsoever. So I prefer to just give them the space and not talk about it. So I will just pretend that I didn't hear any of that.
Okay, but is there any but?
No, there's no but.
No. Okay. I think that's really interesting when we're talking about gossip, and then we are just doing it right now, like gossiping on something.
Right. But what will you do in this situation, though? I mean, in this scenario, if you are this person, what will you do?
Basically, according to the reality, I am carefree person. So I just don't really care about something, overheard, or maybe it's just exactly the thing. I just don't really care.
Okay, so whatever, it happens,
Right. Yeah. And we cannot change her or him anyway, right? I mean,
Right.
he or she will stay on their opinion. So
Right. So
Don't-
why
don't
bother,
bother.
right? Yeah.
yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Irfai, for this fun discussion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Thank you. Thanks for listening. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
And see you in our next Sefeo podcast episode.